Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Behind the Reel podcast. This is season number 2. We are quite a few episodes in, but this is episode number 8 of the official season 2. So appreciate you guys for tuning in. We've got Casey Reed back for a second episode. We haven't had a ton of people back for multiple episodes, so this guy definitely earned his way back into the spotlight, and happy to have him on the show. We're going to talk about his recent finish with KBF at Lake Murray. He pulled off a first and second place win, and we'll get to that and talk about what he's got in store for the year as well. Appreciate you guys all tuning in. Do me a favor, if you guys have any questions, put those over there in the live comment section, and we will get to those throughout the podcast. And we'll try to make it as where you guys are involved as much as possible. And it's kind of a cool part of this show is that it is live, and kind of freaks people out a little bit when I'm talking to having guests on and stuff, but it's actually worked out pretty well. So appreciate you guys all tuning in tonight. And I know there'll be a bunch of viewers that come in the following days and weeks. So appreciate you guys all for tuning in as well. While I'm on the subject, I do want to ask you, I need to start getting this podcast out on different platforms. We've put some episodes out on Spotify, and I'm curious to know, where are you guys listening to your podcast at? If you're not listening or watching on YouTube, where do you consume your podcast content at? And I am going to try to get that try to get the episodes out there for you guys. So I will definitely use some of that information that you guys give me to figure out where I need to post those. So one more thing here. We're going to shout out one of our sponsors. This is Behind the Reel. That's right. Beard Unlimited. And these guys have sponsored the local kayak fishing tournament scene here for years now. I've used their products for a long time. Some of you guys have heard me talk about it. Some of you guys are new to the channel, so maybe you don't know, but I recently just chopped off my beard, and I was actually impressed when I did chop off the beard, how healthy the skin underneath my beard was, because I've done that before and I had a bunch of like nasty dead skin up under there. Not this time. I've been using the Beard Unlimited stuff pretty religiously, and this is one of my favorite products, the Beard Wash. It's super awesome. And one of my favorite scents is the Sandalwood Bourbon. That's an awesome scent for both the oil and the beard wash. Check it out, guys. We've got a discount code for you if you want to get some of your own. Use code BTR15. So make sure you check those guys out. They are sponsoring the local kayak fishing tournament scene. So if you're using some sort of beard product, they're definitely somebody to look at before you make your next purchase. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to bring Casey on the line here. We're going to just get this thing started. I see somebody's over there already. Man, Faithful Organic over here. What's up, man? I appreciate you. He's always tuning in, and he is always live. So I appreciate that. I really do. And Organic, I'm curious to know, if you consume podcast in any other form, where do you view or listen to those at? I'm curious, but appreciate you, man. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to bring Casey on. We're going to get this thing started. What's up, man?
Hey, John, how's it going?
Going pretty good. Pretty good. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, I think it was just maybe late fall or something the last time we had you on here. And were you collecting hardware for that one as well, I want to say, or?
Shoot, man, I can't remember. I remember I was coming back from the local lake that day, but I don't remember exactly.
I don't either, but definitely got some hardware that you've added to the collection here right behind you. So fishing the KBF stuff. I know you mentioned that you got some tournaments that you're getting ready to head out to as well here pretty soon. curious to know kind of how it all went down at Lake Murray, obviously, and what kind of pre-fishing, what all that stuff kind of looked like. Did you go into this event thinking that you had it in the bag? Like, how did that all shake out? So, for before we get to all that stuff, if you want to maybe just kind of give these people that may be meeting you for the very first time a brief introduction, for those people that maybe don't know you from the YouTube videos and all the tournament wins and stuff.
Yeah, so my name's Casey. From around Central Virginia, right around Lynchburg. I've been kayak fishing. I don't know how long now. I guess about 9-10 years. Seems like time flies by. I just remember not too long ago telling people it was like 6-7 years, and now I'm pretty sure it's getting up to 9 or 10 years now. I've been
You're one of
fishing.
the OGs if you've been in it that long. I mean, kayak fishing wasn't very popular 9 or 10 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call myself an OG, but I mean, definitely since the tournament scene kind of blew up, like definitely OG of the big tournament scene, I'd say.
Yeah.
But there's people doing it long before me, and doing it big before me. There's some kind of local guys like Rob Choi. He's from the coast here in Virginia. Kayak Kevin. I mean, dude, those guys have been doing it for years and years. I don't even know how long. And like once I got into it, I started. Those are the guys I was kind of looking up to. But yeah, man, I've just been kayak fishing. Just started like most other people in a little sit-in kayak fishing, kind of the river around here, fishing some ponds and stuff, and started fishing a few local boat tournaments with a buddy, and kind of that got my feet wet into the tournament scene. And as I was like getting more and more into it, I found out about there was a little local club here, about 7 or 8 people, and they'd fish tournaments just right around our little region. And I got in with them, and started fishing every one. Then after that, they kind of shut down, and I started my own club, the Virginia Kayak Bass Challenge. And we fished kind of all around Virginia, and just started fishing more and more, getting more involved in the whole kayak industry itself. Got affiliated with Old Town, and that was probably 6 or 7 years ago now, and just been with them ever since. And just traveling around fishing KBF, fishing bass, just trying to fish anything and everything I can. And man, it's been a pretty wild ride, and made a lot of good friends over the course of the past 7 or 8 years.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. Yeah, appreciate that. And yeah, all had to start somewhere. So if you guys are new to kayak fishing, don't worry about having the biggest, baddest setup. Don't worry about, whether or not you have the Mega Live and you got spot lock and all that stuff. Like, the number one piece of advice I would give you, and I would imagine Casey will probably echo this, get you a kayak that floats and get out there on the water and just enjoy your time out there on the water. And if it's something that you're truly passionate about, and if it's something that, really just resonates with you, all the fancy stuff will come later on down the line.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of, I hear people give advice all the time, and they always say buy your first kayak, or buy your last kayak first, or something like that. Basically meaning, go buy a really nice kayak first off, and don't worry about getting a cheap kayak that you're gonna sell and get rid of, and then upgrade from there. But like my advice and kind of comes from what I did, and I mean, I just had a cheap kayak, and I upgraded to, at the time, I thought was a really nice kayak, but I didn't know about all the frame seats and all that were just like basically just starting to come out around that time. And then, and it, it didn't have that. It was my second kayak was a sit on top, but it was just, sitting on a pad. But like, I really think, get you something, like you said, get out on the water, you'll start to learn what you like, what you want out of a kayak. There's so many different kayaks. I personally really love the Old Towns, obviously, like that's what I've been in for many years. But I mean, all the brands, they make great kayaks, but you want to find what fits you right. You don't want to go spend, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000 on a kayak and then realize, I don't like this about her. I don't like that. So for me, it's like get in a kayak, figure out what you want out of a kayak, how you're going to rig it up. And once you do that a few times, you're really going to start to look at these other kayaks and be like, okay, well, I can use this way, or this whole shape really is going to be something that I really like. And then you can kind of upgrade from there once you know what you want.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. Okay. So yeah. And that's the thing too. Like, yeah, you might want to get the best kayak that that you possibly can afford, but don't let not being able to afford the kayak that you want keep you from getting on the water. So, um, I started out in a sit-in side, it wasn't even meant for fishing. And I think it was like $200. It was like a $200 brand new at Cabela's, and man, me and my wife, we were newly married. We had babies, it was like, I thought I was spending a lot of money, and,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
so, yeah, I mean, just get out there, enjoy it, and don't let all the fancy stuff, or the lack of money from being able to buy that stuff keep you from enjoying some time on the water. Cause it's really been a therapeutic thing for me at times, for sure.
Oh, well, yeah, 100%. And yeah, my first kayak too was, I think, got it on sale for like $150. And
Yeah.
again, like I just got more and more into it, and I started spending, 10-hour days in it, and I'm like, okay, I need to get something a little better. And then that's when I went and got the sit on top with just the pad seating. And then, man, I started spending, 12, 14-hour days in it. And I'm like, okay, after a year, I'm like, I need to get something new. And then that's when I finally got into my first Old Town. But like at that point, I kind of knew what I wanted out of a kayak, and was, I went from $150 to a $500 kayak to I think it was like $1,300 at the time kayak. And like every time I spent that money, it was like I thought I was spending a lot of money on a kayak. But like, you really get what you pay for. But again, I just think knowing what you want is going to be better. I could have probably went out when I bought my second kayak and spent, 1,300, $1,500 on one, but I didn't know what I wanted out of a kayak at that point. And I would have got something nice, but it probably wouldn't have fit me very well. And I would have ended up selling it and buying another kayak anyways. So it was nice to be able to like kind of work my way into the kayak that would last me years.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. We can't all be like my buddy Cyber Yacker Adventures. I don't know if you guys know him, but he is infamous for buying like several kayaks per year. It seems like he did for a while. I think he's stuck with the same kayak for a couple months now. But before that, we thought that he was going to stay in the Hobie Lynx, and he was in that thing for like 6 months. Like, man, it just seemed like forever for him. And then he went and switched it up on us. But that dude has probably had 20 different kayaks. We need to have him on this show. And if we only talked about all the different kayaks that he's owned, it would last the entire episode. We wouldn't have time to talk about anything else. But we don't all have, we can't all do that, right? But I do like that, because along the way you kind of find out what's important, what's not, and eventually you'll kind of find what you want, and find out how you want to rig it out. So, and actually, before we get into, because I know we'll still have some people trickling in here, so this is kind of a cool thing that's on topic, and you are kind of known for rigging out your kayak, and having kind of all the bells and whistles, and you've got it modified to the way that you like it. So if you don't mind, maybe tell us about how you have your kayak rigged and all the maybe electronics and stuff that are on it. And then also for those of you guys that maybe want to see that firsthand, Casey's got some videos over there on YouTube that kind of show you some of those modifications and stuff along the way. So
Yeah, so I mean, I've always been like the DIY kind, and just like even my first kayak, like, you know, it didn't have rod holders, installing rod holders, and I made a little cart for it, and just like put an anchor trolley on there. So it's always something you can do, and I love tinkering with it and just like adding stuff really. And now I have the Autopilot 136, which is a beast of a kayak, and like you can do just about anything you want to it. But yeah, I mean, I have two Helix 10s mounted on the side rail, stacked on top of each other. I have the Mega 360. I have the Mega Live. I have two power poles mounted on the back. I got it rigged up with lights. USB cables to run my GoPro. I have the main battery for the motor, which is a 135 amp Dakota lithium battery, and then I have four 23 amp batteries inside the hull that are ran in parallel to power everything else, and like that'll get me like 2 days runtime, like 2 tournament days at least on the water. So yeah, I mean, got it fully rigged out, and as you mentioned, yeah, on my YouTube, Casey Reed Fishing, I got videos of this kayak that I shot videos of kind of all the stuff I've added to it, and tried to put some good stuff out there for people to get some ideas from, or copy off of.
Yeah, you've got some good tip videos and install videos, and I know you're a Helix guy like myself. I've seen some good tip videos popping up on there with those. Tell us a little bit. I can't remember how you have it rigged up. How do you have your 360 rigged up on that thing?
So I have buddies I went to high school with, Josh and James. They had started a company a few years back. I guess it's been probably 4 years now, 4 or 5 years maybe. But One Objective Bass Fishing, and okay. Josh lives just basically right down the road from me. But they make some awesome accessories for all different types of kayaks now. But they make a 360 mount for it, and it rotates up and pivots up. You just gotta pull the pin, pop it up, and then push the pin back in, and it's out of the water, and same to deploy it. But I mean, that's been working out great for me, and I really like that. I see a lot of people starting to have those now, and it seems like everybody's really liking it.
Yeah, I had my 360. I actually don't have that on my current kayak setup, and I kind of miss it. I need to figure out how to get that back on, and I might have to check that mount out, because I had it on a RAM setup, and it wasn't real easy. It was kind of a pain to put it up and down, to stow it and deploy it.
Yeah.
So I just left it in the water a lot of the time. And even when I was like going from spot to spot, and so you'd have all that drag on one side, and so yeah, I might need to check that out. That's seems like a pretty cool option.
Yeah, you definitely should. When I first got it, I had pieced together a bunch of Yak Attack stuff and kind of made the mount for it. And I mean, it was like, I was like, okay, it'll work. And it did work, but it was kind of crappy to stow and deploy it, just like was a pain in the butt. But with this, I mean, it just pivots right up. I mean, I use two hands, but you can pretty much do it with one hand. Like, it's just so easy to rotate it up and lock it into place. It's really nice.
And then tell us about how you have your Mega Live rigged up, because I might have an idea of how that is, and I can show these guys what that kind of looks like if you want to tell us about it.
Yeah, so I have attached to the kayak. I have it's from fishfindermounts.com is the name of the company that makes it. But
Yeah.
it's like all kind of aluminum stuff, and it bolts to the kayak. It's got a shaft coming out, and from there I have that attached to the Sniper Marine pole. And I mean that thing's been awesome. I've been using that for, I mean, I guess coming up on a year now. I had like
Mhm.
one of the first ones that they had made for a kayak, and man, that thing's been really sweet. And yeah, they got them up on the website now for sale, and get getting in the hands of a lot more people. And I mean, I've just heard a lot of good feedback on it. It's got the handle on it is kind of like the throttle on a motorcycle. That's how you can turn it. And you just pull back like you'd be pulling back on the throttle, and it just rotates around, and that's pretty neat, and definitely like something that nobody else is doing out there. Definitely very unique.
Where do you think those Old Town pictures came from?
Yep, that one's definitely me. There's a picture there, and then the video of me talking about it and installing it on my kayak there.
I'm curious, and it would probably be something that I could use, like one of the Hobie H-Rail plates that has like the track system, where I could maybe utilize that uh, deal that you have yours attached to where I could kind of stow and deploy it real easily. Do you know if that attaches to the H-Rail or how?
Um, I don't know specifically, but they've made it to where it's a track mount. I've got mine installed a little bit differently just because of where I put it.
Yeah.
But I have mine installed on a track, but my track doesn't run like parallel to the kayak like most track does. I just
Mm-hmm.
got a little short piece of track that I put it on that
Mm-hmm.
that runs kind of perpendicular to the kayak. But yeah, I mean they have a mount now, the whole big base mount that installs on a track. So I'm not sure. It's probably like 4 or 5 inches long, where that's about all the track that you need to install it on. So, um,
Yeah.
but
Heck yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. I'm a fan of the Sniper Marine scout pole, I think they call it, sniper pole. But
yep.
yeah, I've used it once or twice now, and I was really impressed with it. And we were kind of talking before the show, and you guys probably saw that price tag flash across the screen, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, I don't want to pay that for a pole." But like, you're going to pay some pretty good money for any type of like aftermarket pole mounting system, and for the little bit more you're paying, a little bit more premium that you're paying for this thing, I think it's well worth it. um, I think you kind of mentioned how you like to steer that transducer like you did with, did you have a fishing specialties before?
No, not the fishing specialties, but I had the whole setup from Fish Finder Mounts, and
Okay.
I mean it worked well, but it was just it wasn't as clean looking as this. Like this one, you can run the cable up through the shaft, and
Yeah.
everything just fits together nice. I mean, such high quality parts. It's pretty light for what it is.
Hmm.
Weight's a big thing when you start installing stuff on kayaks, and as much stuff as I have on my kayak, you really got to be conscious of how much this stuff weighs. But
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just a very very clean setup. It looks great, and works well. And like I said, it's very high quality parts. There's quite a bit of engineering that went into it, and the gears on the inside, and the arrow on top is awesome. I mean, you can just turn that throttle, and that arrow just turns around, and you can see exactly where your live's pointed at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really accurate. So I was getting my bait in that beam just about every time. I was kind of surprised how accurate that thing was. And then also just even against a real heavy wind, or even when I was pedaling and I was going from spot to spot, I noticed that, if I locked that thing down, then it wasn't going to be moving around a whole lot on me. So that was the other thing that kind of impressed me about it. Now, if we want to kind of move on to some of the Lake Murray stuff, I kind of wanted to get some of the rigging out of the way. Like, how much did all of this, all these electronics, how much did that play a part in this event? And then maybe just kind of go into, pre-fishing and how all this kind of went down.
So I assumed that I was going to be using live down there, and, fishing kind of what I've done in the past is mainly just fishing docks. I've been able to, I think it was last year was the first year I had the Mega Live, and I was able to, I caught a couple fish on docks, and I was able to just scan over there and just see if there was more fish there. And a lot of times there would be, and I could just sit there and kind of pick them off. But, everything kind of changed for me. I guess pretty much the day that the tournament started, that Saturday morning. We got quite a bit of rain that night. A front moved through, of course. It got cold, or colder, and everything got a little blown out. The backs of the creeks were pretty muddy. And like I said, my plan was just to go fish a bunch of docks, but I had a few things that clued me into a different bite, and I was able to kind of run with that, and it just worked out really well. So really the electronics for that tournament weren't huge for me. It ended up being more just bed fishing. I'm pretty sure 95% of my fish that I caught during that tournament came from beds. But a big thing that really helped was the new Humminbird app, the One Boat Network app.
Yeah.
I mean, just have those maps kind of on your phone at your fingertips, kind of at all times. I was able to, that the night before, really just do some map study and find those areas that those fish should be spawning in. And that played a huge role, more than the live or 360 or even side or down really did.
Yeah, and I downloaded that app. I haven't messed with it a whole lot, but I want to say, I'm getting ready to pull it up here so I can show you guys. And Scott Reese over there, he says he's learned some good rigging tips from your channel. So definitely keep those videos up. I know guys out there are getting some good use out of them.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Appreciate it, man.
Cool thing about this app, I want to say I was able to do a trial subscription maybe, and I want to say, yeah, actually I believe so. I was trying to pull it up here, but I'm pretty sure you get a free subscription. I think maybe you have to put in some credit card info and it'll automatically renew, if I remember correctly. But you have access to all the maps right there on your phone. And if you just want to check it out, then you can actually go download that thing. And if you're a Humminbird guy, this is definitely a must.
Man, I mean, even if you're not, I know plenty of people that don't have Humminbird, but use those apps, and that the mapping that Humminbird has is it's not perfect everywhere, but you find the places where it's really good, man. I mean, it's got so much detail, and you'll really be able to see things that you can't see on Navionics or any of those other apps. I mean, it's definitely something to look at, and sign up for the trial and at least try it out. And I think everybody will be really happy with it. I mean, it's an awesome app for sure.
Yeah. And that's a good point. You don't have to be a Humminbird guy to appreciate LakeMaster. I work in the marine electronics industry, and everybody compares their mapping to LakeMaster. Everybody does it. When a customer calls in and they're saying, hey, I'm looking at switching to Garmin. I'm looking at switching to Lowrance. Like, what does their mapping look like compared to Lake Master? Because they are just the industry standard, and they have been for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the pros, even if they choose to run like the Garmin for live or whatever, like they're running a Humminbird for that Lake Master. I mean, it is just absolutely killer.
And I'm assuming you probably have one of those new VX cards. Those are pretty sweet.
Yep, and you can get all that. That's what you're seeing on the new app is all that the
Yep.
new technology there, and it's got a bunch of different shading options, which is pretty cool. I haven't used it a lot on my graph yet. I did utilize it before the new VX cards came out, but now they just have so much more options as far as shading goes, and like you can really key in like say you're fishing 10 to 12 foot of water, that's where your bite's at. Well, you can plug that in, have that highlighted. Any spot on the lake is going to be highlighted to whatever color you want that's in that 10 to 12 foot range or whatever range it is that you plug in there. And you can pull your map back, look at the whole lake, and really key in on those areas, and it just draws your attention so much quicker, especially when you're out on the water. It's like you can do that and be like, okay, I need to go here next, and then zoom in and just take off and go there, and it just makes everything like that much quicker. I mean, you could do it on your own without doing that. You can still see all the contours and stuff, but having it highlighted like that, and to be able to highlight multiple contours is just pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And that was one of the complaints about the Lake Master cards leading up to this VX Premium was you didn't have as many shading options as some of the other guys offered, and you were basically limited to like one or two different depth zones. But now with this new VX Premium, you have multiple different depth zones that you can highlight. And the other cool thing, if you guys do go with the VX Premium card, it has the built-in Strike Master on there as well. So if you are going to a new body of water or something like that, it'll kind of show you. You can plug in your species, you can plug in like water temperature, time of year, all that stuff, and it'll actually highlight some key areas on the lake for you to kind of go and investigate. It's not a guarantee to catch fish, but kind of a cool thing if you're going to a new body of water or something like that. And that
Yeah, that can help out so much, like you said, on a new body of water. It just gives you that starting point. It's like, hey, I'm going to go here, and then like, yeah, maybe you don't get a bite there, but you can kind of just work your way from there and kind of really get it figured out from there. I mean, it's a great starting point when you don't know anything about a body of water.
So, what were you catching them on? So you said they were all kind of spawning fish, or they were getting ready to spawn, or what did that actually look like on the water there?
So kind of like I said that. Well, let's go back. So the last day of practice, it got really warm. I think it got up to 85 degrees. And then that evening, like I had seen some beds and stuff. I saw a few fish up on like maybe one or two up on beds during that day, but I wasn't really focusing on that. I really didn't think it was going to be a bed fishing tournament. But I guess, we had that last day of practice, we got to get off the water. We can't stay on the water till dark. So we got off the water a little bit early. And during that time, at some point towards the end of that day, those fish, there was just a big wave of fish where I was that had moved up. And I had two bites the kind of last few minutes I had on the water, and just on this little grass line. It was stuff I hadn't even fished much of at all during practice. And I threw over there, and I broke off my shaky head, which what I fished down there a lot. And I was just kind of messing around, and the end of the day, and I just flipped a drop shot over there and got a bite. I didn't set the hook, and then I was like, okay, that's cool. Went down a little bit further, probably 15 feet further, and flipped over there again and freaking caught another one. And that one was a good fish. And, you know, my plan at that time was still just like, it didn't really click yet that they're moving up heavily. But that next morning, you know, I go out. I had this my starting spot was this area, the back of this creek, where I had pushed some bait in the back the day before, and the bait come scattering out, and fish just started busting on them everywhere. And so like that was kind of my plan, to hope those fish were still there, and I could get them fired up. And of course I go back there that tournament morning, and because of all the rain, it was just nothing but mud. And I fished around there for like I saw fish and saw bait, but I couldn't really get anything happening. So I probably did that for about 30, 45 minutes and like nothing. So I just kind of moved on. And that little grass line where I'd caught those two at the last minutes of practice, I just went over there and flipped my shaky head over there and caught one. And then I flipped my shaky head over there again, kind of just like during practice, and caught another one. And I'm like, dang, that's freaking crazy. So I just worked that whole pocket all the way around, flipping that grass line. And when I come out of that pocket, right up shallow on the little point there, I had flipped my shaky head again, and I saw some movement. This was a little bit shallower, and the water was a little bit clearer there. I could actually see it. But there was a little male on a bed, and it hit my worm. And when I saw that, everything, those last two bites of practice, those two bites that morning, and seeing that fish, everything just kind of clicked for me. I'm like, they've moved up. They're on beds right now. Like, and so I literally just just ran a bunch of those pockets, and I just started catching fish after fish. Like everything just went so right for me during that time. It was like every little flip I made, every little grass line I went to, is like I would catch one. And it's just unbelievable when it worked out like that. Like it's definitely not what you had asked earlier. I think, like, was I expecting to win going into that? No, I was expecting to hopefully cash a check, but like, no, I wasn't expecting to win by any means. I hadn't seen that many good fish in practice. I mean, my biggest fish during practice was like smaller than my smallest fish of the tournament. So like, it just, those fish literally that evening, as best as I can tell, they just moved up. And even with the colder temperatures, like the water dropped 10 degrees from that afternoon, and those fish were just up there and stayed up there.
What were water temps down there?
So that Friday, at the end of the day, like I said, it was like 85 degrees that day. I think I was seeing water temperatures in like 67. And that next morning, I believe it was like 57, 58 degrees.
Okay. Let's see. What is he saying? What, 6 pounds? Smallest? I'm not sure what he's saying. Did you catch a 6-pounder?
Maybe
5 pound.
I didn't weigh any of them.
Yeah.
My biggest one of that day, that first day of the tournament, Saturday, was 21 inches. I don't think it was a 6-pounder, but it could have been close. A lot of those fish were just studs. I mean, some, you'll see those fish when you're fighting them, and you're like, oh man, that's a big one. That's a big one. But, they're just freaking footballs, and they're not as long as you were hoping, but they're big fish.
Heck yeah. Well, this maybe does kind of tie into what you were doing. So you mentioned earlier, and this is a really cool part of your boat, that you were kind of one of the first ones I ever saw do it, and that's the dual power poles. Were you using those in this tournament? Like, were you really hunkered down on these individual fish? And then, like, how well does that setup work for you?
So I had had my kayak off the trailer, leading into my practice beforehand, and I had taken my power poles off of the kayak, and I left them at the house for that tournament.
Okay.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was kind of upset about that. It ended up working out, obviously, but I mean, that first day it wouldn't have helped me super much anyways, because I wasn't really, there was a couple that I was able to see and sight fish for, but most of them in that water was just too dirty to even see them. Um, but so I was just kind of running the grass lines and flipping the grass lines to be able to catch them and find them that way. But I wish it worked out better. You know, when I installed them, I didn't know what to expect. I was really hoping it would lock you into place. I think just the way I have them set up, I don't think they're wide enough to really, when you put them down, to really lock you into place in any kind of heavier wind. Like I think you'll stay still in very light wind, but when that wind starts blowing, it still just turns me.
Just
Um,
too close together.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. I've been playing with some ideas of trying to see if I can get them mounted out wider, and see how that's going to work. Because I mean, obviously, it's going to be a huge benefit for bed fishing like that, just to
Mhm.
get locked down into a place, even in some wind. But yeah, unfortunately, it hasn't worked out like I had hoped so far. But I'd be interested. I've seen a few people that have them that are there where they're set out a little bit wider, and I haven't been able to ask questions to them guys. But yeah. See, I don't know how wide they're going to need to be, and I think it would help if you can mount them a little bit closer to the center of the kayak as well, or just not on the very back. I think that'll help as well to be able to lock you into place a little bit better too, the wider
Yeah.
and closer to the center. Um, if you can do that. But
I,
hopefully, hopefully in the next sometime this year, I'll try to get them set up a little bit different and see if I can get them to work a little bit better.
it might look kind of goofy, but I don't think it would be a huge pain in the butt to have one on the very front of the kayak. I mean, really, it wouldn't. I don't think it would really be in the way very often.
I mean, for me, I couldn't do that. I've seen people do that before.
Have you?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
guess
For
if you
me,
get a big fish that just kind of has his way with you, it could be bad news. But
yeah, that and I do a lot of like skipping docks and stuff. I definitely break some rods on it. But like I said, I've seen people do it before, and I mean, if it works for you, go for it because I mean that would help as well. But
yeah. So okay, so we've got. Let me go pull this up. I've got the Fishing Chaos leaderboard pulled up here. Let's go take a look at that. Oh, and while I'm pulling that up, it may take me just a second. I will go ahead and mention we've got free shipping on all of our behind the reel merch going on right now. So if you want to get you a hat or a shirt, go over there to our Shopify page. I'll put a link in the description here. If you go to my Facebook page, I've got one on there as well. But we've got free shipping on all that, so that'll help you guys out if you do want to show some support to the channel. And it is very high quality stuff as well. These hats and these shirts, I get compliments on them whenever anybody purchases one. They're real heavy duty materials. So yeah, check those out. Free shipping. Okay, so we've got this is kind of a different take on having a weekend tournament, having a 2-day tournament. Is this how KBF always does it? Do they always split it into 2 separate days like that?
yeah, that's how KBF's been doing it for the past few years, and it I I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but it's kind of cool because you have the trail day one, which is Saturday. You have the trail day two, which is Sunday, and you can enter both of them. You can enter one of them, whatever. But you'll have two different winners for each one. But they also have kind of like this. I guess it's kind of more like a side pot kind of thing, but a lot of people will just consider it the part of the 2 day tournament. So you can, it's the Dakota Lithium double up, and you pay $100 to enter that,
Hmm.
and that's your score over the best or over the 2 days. So it's kind of like, two individual 1 day tournaments, and then the 2 day tournament kind of all built into one. So you really have a lot of options to take home money.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you're going to spend the 2 days there, like in your scenario, it obviously worked out really well for you all the way around. Um, you came home with day one first place, day two second place, and then the overall 2 day deal. You took home the gold on that one too, right?
Yep. Yep.
So that worked out for you well. But let's say you just bombed it on day two. You didn't lose. Like, you could have a really great day one on a 2 day tournament and have, only maybe catch 4 fish on the second day or whatever happened there. And you're not even in the money. So, you have
Yeah.
an opportunity to take home 3 different checks, it sounds like.
Yep. Yep. And so exactly, like you have that opportunity day one when you do good to still take home some money, even though you may bomb it on day two, and where in a full 2 day tournament, you'd be going home with your tail tucked, but
Mhm.
there you're still able to kind of cash. And then again, if you do good, you could win both days
Yep.
and win the overall and take home a pile of money as well. So it's definitely different. But it's interesting, and I do like that there is opportunity there, and obviously to win a 2 day tournament is a lot more than just being able to go out there and do good 1 day and then not so hot the next. So I do like the 2 day format as well.
And you did. I mean, you won the 2 day tournament, right? I mean, so
Hmm.
you still have those bragging rights, and you still got and you didn't just get one trophy; you got 2 trophies.
Yep.
So that's that's kind of cool. Yeah, some of these fish have some big old guts on them, don't they?
Yeah, I think is that there's one 18 incher from I think the first day. I don't know if you pulled that up yet, but
I
man,
don't think so. 18 and a
that
quarter.
thing,
Here she is.
yeah,
Yeah.
that thing was an absolute brute, man. Like it just had a huge belly on it. That thing was ready to pop.
Is that like a Florida strain or something?
No, I
The
don't.
markings on it look a little different than the others.
I don't
That
know if
thing
that's. I don't think they have Florida strain there, but they may.
was it. What was the watercolor like there? I meant to ask earlier.
Usually in that area, it's pretty clear. That day it was quite a bit more murky.
From all
It
the
was,
wind and weather and stuff.
yeah,
Okay, so that was your day one and then your day two. So day one you had 98 and a half. Day two you had 93 and 3/4. Um, so just some more fat fish there. Look at that.
yeah. On that second day, man, I didn't know what to expect going into that either, and people kept asking me, "You're gonna be able to repeat it? You're gonna be able to repeat?" I'm like, man, I have no idea. Like, I fished. I didn't fish a huge amount of area that first day, and it seemed like as I kept going out, the fish kept getting smaller, and so
Hmm.
I didn't think I could kind of pound on that same area again and catch this same amount of fish. So like my plan was to kind of start in that same area and just kind of work my way out pretty quick. And I was able to do that. I started in the same area, started catching fish, but they just weren't, they weren't as big as they were the first day. And I put up a decent limit, but no big fish at all. I think when I got a limit, I had like 80 some inches, like 82, 83 inches. And then I was able to kind of cover that water I did the first day. I still caught a few fish here and there, and then I moved on to some new water. And I actually had a couple that I had seen that were on beds the day before that I couldn't catch, and I was able to get to them pretty quick, and I was actually able to catch them. And man, this was heartbreaking, but at the time, it ended up not mattering at all. But I found a pretty good sized fish. I mean, I say good size. It was like 17 something. But at the time, I think my biggest was 16 or 17 and would have been a nice upgrade. And I fished for it for probably 15, 20 minutes and finally got it to eat, or at least I thought so. And I set the hook and it was hooked in the belly. And I was like, oh man, like I just ruined this. Like this was my chance to upgrade. I may not upgrade anymore today. And man, I just had to release that fish. You gotta, you can't measure those foul hooked fish, but like that was kind of that at the time it was really disappointing. And
Yeah.
I didn't think there was any way I'd be able to go back there and get that fish to eat later that day. And
Yeah.
I tried, but it was so spooked that, later. And I had to move on from there. But man, it got to the end of the day and I don't remember what I had at the time or anything, but I think I had caught like another 17, which had upgraded me, and I just kept running new water and looking in those spots where I knew there would likely be some bedded fish, and I just kind of kept finding them. And I came around, it was like 20 minutes left in the tournament, and I come back around this point into this little pocket, and sure enough, man, there's probably a 21-inch female and like a 17-inch male, and I spooked them both off, and I'm like, crap. So I kind of just fished down the bank a little ways, and then I gave it about 3 or 4 minutes, and I turned around and came back and started making long casts over there. And I was quite a ways away, and I don't know if I mentioned, but the second day that water kind of cleared up quite a bit, so I was really able to sight fish for them a lot better. But I was making long casts over there, and I wasn't getting a bit, and so I just kind of eased the kayak over there, and I did see the male back on the bed, so I was like, okay. So I stood up and just flipped over there a couple times and got it to eat, and it was another upgrade, 17 something, and I was like so stoked. And by this time, there's like 15 minutes left in the tournament, and I'm like, man, I know there was a big female like on this bed, like what do I do? And I just kind of made that decision. She wasn't around at the time. I just caught the male off the bed. I was like, I'm not going to wait on this female to come back up. I don't know if she'll show back up, if I'll be able to catch her. So I just decided to keep on going. And I was just running the bank in between these docks, and as I came around one of these docks, I just happened to flip to the very end of that dock. I mean, probably 10, 12 foot of water. And I mean, no sooner my bait probably hit the water for more than a second, and I got a bite and set the hook, and it was like a 20 1/4.
Oh, wow.
That was at the time, my smallest was like a 16 or 17 or something. So, that was a freaking, I think it was a 16 something. So it was about a 4-inch upgrade for me. And that last fish, I looked down when I took the picture, and I think I had like 7 minutes left in the tournament. And man, I got so pumped. I knew I was doing pretty good, enough for like a top 10 finish. But I mean, that fish was what was able to bump me up and put me in second place for that Sunday, day 2 of the tournament.
Yeah, and it looks like you had the here. I don't want to call it the wrong thing. It's the Dakota Lithium. What is it? The double up.
The double up, yeah.
Yeah. So you had that thing by 10 inches almost.
Yeah. I had looked during the day, and I was like leading it by, at one point it was like 3 inches, and I think it was Jimmy McClurkin was like starting to catch up on me, and I'm like, man, I got to upgrade. And like I mean, it was the last 30, 45 minutes. I was able to upgrade those like 3 times
Wow.
and kind of seal the deal for that.
And
And
it sounds like you weren't looking at your Mega Live or anything when you caught that 20.
no, it just, I mean, it was just like I hadn't, like I was flipping the docks every now and then when I'd pass by them, but like my focus was on those shallow bedded fish, on
Mhm.
kind of mainly on those grass lines. And but of course, like it's hard for me to, I love dock fishing, and like that's my plan was to do that going into the tournament.
Mhm.
So I hadn't done a lot of that because I was obviously catching fish, doing better fish, doing other things. But yeah, I just happened to flip over there, and I mean those final minutes, and got that big one on the board. It was it was awesome. Those people in that cove back there were probably thinking I was crazy because I was hollering pretty good. Like I was so pumped up.
That's funny. Yeah, I would imagine so. And I don't know. I mean, this thought crossed my mind. Not everybody, is honest, right? So that fish that you hooked in the belly, nobody would have ever known if you had submitted that fish, right? I mean, you didn't have any cameras on you or anything like that. Like you could have submitted that fish, and nobody would have ever known the difference. But you know, I don't know if I want to like, there was plenty of skill involved in catching the fish that you did after that, but I want to say that, your chances probably would have been greatly reduced by Mother Karma if you would have put that fish on the board. You know what I mean? So like, I think that's just something cool to like share with people, hey, I did catch this fish. I did, foul hook this fish. So that's something cool that I think when people have the opportunity to share those instances, like just hearing other people that are doing it, if they get put into that situation, then, maybe hearing your experiences, they'll be more willing to do the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, like the thought never crossed my mind. I mean,
Yeah.
like in kayak, I mean, any tournaments, like there's so much stuff like that where yeah, you could probably get away with it, but like it's just not good for anybody. It's not good for you. It's not. I mean, I don't want to take somebody's money by foul hooking a fish. Like that's just
Yeah.
I'm not out there to do any of that. Like the money's nice, but like I want to go out there and beat people like legitimately. Like
Yeah.
it's unfortunate that there are people that do stuff like that, and they have it coming to them. Yeah, they may cash a check here and there, but like
Hmm.
but I always say it's like go out there and beat the cheaters. Like they'll get what's coming to them sooner or later.
Yeah. 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 So I didn't really want, to focus so much on, that, but I did kind of want to bring it to the attention and, I maybe, if something like that were to happen, you're still catching all those same fish. But I do believe somewhere down the line, if you were to do something like that, and this is also for those people, listening, like, that's a slippery slope. You do something like that, and then, you definitely have some bad karma coming to you down the road. But anyways, yeah. So that, double up there, the Dakota Lithium double up. I think that's a pretty cool thing, and I kind of like that format. Like you said, there's probably pros and cons to it, but it's cool that there are sponsors out there like Dakota Lithium that is putting up some money to help kind of make these events what they are. So you have the 2-day deal, but you also have the overall winner, and it sounds like that's kind of a unique format. How many people were in this thing again? Let me go
It
back
was
here.
100 and there was 120 anglers total. Like I
Okay.
said, you don't have to sign up for day one, and you can sign up for either day. And there was a few people that only signed up for one day or the other. But I think I looked. There was 118 on the first day, and I think like 115 on the second day.
Wow. Yeah. So that's a pretty good field there for sure. That'll those winnings will definitely get you to the next tournament, which we didn't even talk about that. What is the next big one on the schedule for you?
Yeah, so the Bassmaster Championship at Chickamauga, it kind of runs right before the Bassmaster Classic, and that's the one where I guess they'll pull the top 10 of that event up on the Bassmaster Classic stage again, and kind of get us in the spotlight. Which I was lucky enough the first year that they had it, or I guess it was. But was able to get up on stage, and that was an awesome experience.
Yeah.
That stage is pretty amazing when you're up there. I mean, you got all the lights. Like it's a what do they say? Big bass, big dreams, or something like that. I mean,
Yeah.
big stage. Like it really is, man. It's pretty cool. Um,
Was that
there's
at
not
Possum
all
Kingdom?
that was, yeah, when I walked across the stage. Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool. So that's the goal this year too, right? And this is at Chickamauga.
Yep, this one's at Chickamauga, and I'm looking forward to it. I mean, like I told you earlier, I don't have a ton of experience there. The Tennessee River is not my favorite. I don't always do great places there. Like I just bombed at Gunnersville. You know, I had two fish on day one, and I ended up fishing for like 2 hours on day two, and then I just was like, man, I'm headed home.
Hmm.
Um, but like it was a tough one. We had some really bad weather there. Um, I think Chickamauga this time will be a little bit better fishing. So hoping I can go down there and put something together and at least put up a respectable limit.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Represent on that big stage. Um, let's see. So are you anticipating to be using that Mega Live maybe a little bit more at this one, or?
I don't know. I mean, I'd love to. We'll see what those fish are doing, man. It seems like they've kind of been bedding everywhere a little bit earlier this year. So I don't know if they'll. I'm sure there'll be some fish on beds there. I don't know how many of them will have moved up and done their thing and be kind of pulling off already, but um, yeah, I honestly I don't know what to expect. Let's see, I'll get down there Friday, so I have Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday to practice. So hopefully we'll go down there and find a couple different things. A couple different game plans to go on tournament day, and hopefully one of those can either win it or at least put me in the top 10 and get up on stage there.
Heck yeah. Um, maybe for there's a lot of guys out there in the kayak world, especially right now, that are looking to get into forward-facing sonar for the very first time. I know Mr. CBG down there is kind of looking to make a move towards that direction if he hasn't already. So he might be curious to know, and I'm sure other listeners that are on here as well would be curious to know. When you set up that forward-facing sonar, what are some of your favorite baits, and maybe some of like the oddball ones that I know you're using a couple of them that not a lot of people are at least talking about. What are some of your favorite baits to use when you're fishing with that forward facing?
I mean, obviously, a jerk bait is an awesome bait to throw during that. That's what you hear and see a lot of guys talking about.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, it kind of just depends on what the fish are doing. Like, if the fish are on the bottom, I mean, I'm throwing a shaky head over there, a drop shot, maybe a Texas rig worm. But I mean, like, I've done really good with shoot, what is it called? Just like a swim bait on I can't remember what that head's called with the shakes it back and forth.
Oh, okay, like a wobble head,
Yeah, it's not a wobble head, but
mm.
I can't think of it right now.
Scrounger.
Scrounger head, yeah, yeah. For whatever reason, I've had a lot of fun throwing that and done really good.
Hmm.
throwing a pretty big slim bait on the back of a scrounger head. But I mean, really anything. I mean, a crankbait, a chatterbait. I mean, you can see those pretty dang good on the live,
Hmm.
and it's just really kind of figuring out what depth the bass are at, if they're suspended or on the bottom. Um, but yeah, I mean, probably most fish that I've caught on live personally, which of course is like it's my go-to bait just about anywhere. But a shaky head, I mean, you can really throw it out there, watch it drop, and either drop it right on them or like pull it to them. And if they're on the bottom, like a lot of times I can get them to hit that.
Nice. And maybe for some of those Mega Live guys in particular, do you have like any settings or anything that maybe you would like to share? And I'm sure you've probably done a video or two on this. So if you want to hear more about this, go to his YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, check out those videos. But like maybe just a quick tip on how to kind of like dial in your Mega Live, or any tips with that at all.
I mean, with the Humminbird's put out a few updates here in the past few months, and I mean they've really got it to where I don't change the settings a whole lot from where it's at. I
Yeah.
mean, I can't remember what the settings called, but there's it's on one of the videos I did, but one of them will change it if you're trying to see fish better, or if you're trying to see your bait better.
Mhm.
You can kind of flip back and forth between that. And I mean, honestly, that's basically the only setting I'll change. I mean, if you're in some real dirty water, you may have to adjust like the sensitivity and contrast a little bit. But I mean, from what I've seen, it's not a lot of adjusting that needs to be done after these new updates. I mean, they tried to get it. That was kind of their goal, I know, and one of those updates is to really get it dialed in to where the if you do have to adjust, it's very little from that starting point that they give you.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in the Mega Live, or any of the Humminbird electronics, uh, rigging up your kayak or anything like that, go check them out. Casey Reed Fishing on YouTube. And, as Scott mentioned earlier, you will get some good tips along the way.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I've been trying to do a lot better this year at putting out some more content. I've had a little lull here recently after I kind of pushed all that content out for me rigging my kayak. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, hopefully plan on having some more live videos here soon, and just an overall video of the whole kayak rigged up and everything. So yeah, I appreciate any of you guys go out there and check out my videos. Give me a follow, and hopefully you like what you see.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. John wants to know how far out are you typically looking on your Mega Live? What do you set your range to?
I'm usually about 80 feet.
Nice. Are you seeing like are you seeing some pretty good returns up to 80 feet? Do you see like at what point does it kind of drop off? Or
Yeah, I mean usually I can see fish at about to 80 feet. It gets a little for me it gets a little blurry out then, and
Mhm.
and you don't have super detail that far out. But
Sure.
yeah, I mean you can definitely, once you train your eye and know what you're looking for, like you can definitely see fish out there and see whatever it is you need to see.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, and I think that's pretty standard across the board. I think, you might hear some guys say they're, seeing out a little bit further with some of the other options out there on the market, but um, they're also a little bit newer options as well. I would be curious to see, and you being as rigging minded, I guess I'm just going to make words up here, as you are, would love to see somebody with a target lock on a kayak.
Yeah, actually, the only person that I know that has it is a guy from Virginia, William Brewer. He's on the Old Town team as well. He rigged that up on there, and he seems to be loving it, man. He did real good down there at Murray. Not 100% sure what he was doing,
That's cool.
but if I had to guess, he may have been using that live and that target lock. Um, I thought about putting it on there, but like I said, I got to be super weight conscious of everything I put on
Yeah,
there, and I do know it's a little bit heavier. It's kind of
sure.
a lot going on, but I mean, shit, if you can do it and get away with it, I mean, that would be pretty cool.
It would be cool, and maybe you ought to really consider that, because you could probably just not even have to worry about the whole power pole situation at that point, because you're just going to be locked on no matter where your kayak is, locked
Yeah,
onto that target. So for those of you guys that don't know, the target lock will actually lock your transducer beam onto a piece of cover or fish, whatever it is. And if your boat starts moving, your transducer is going to turn and always keep you pointed in that direction. So, um, which, as long as your transducer was underneath the hull of the boat, then you're always going to be locked on. Be
yeah. I
cool.
mean, when they came out with that, I mean, there had been some companies I've seen kind of try to put something like that together, but I don't know how well they actually work. But I mean, when Humminbird put it out, that thing's pretty awesome. And not only can you just like basically spot lock your transducer pointed on something, but I mean
Yeah.
it's got all sorts of other features where it can just like scan. If you're
Mm-hmm.
just cruising somewhere, it'll just sit there and scan back and forth and just have you look. And I mean, I kind of use 360 that way, but I mean, you'll really be
Yeah.
able to see those any brush piles you're getting ready to come up on. It's gonna find those, and or any schools of fish or whatever it is. But yeah, it's got all sorts of cool features, man, and I'd love to get on a boat with one and kind of give it a good test. But it may
Yeah.
be something that I look at in the future. Like I'd really planned on doing it, and then I kind of just backed down. I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work for me now. But yeah, definitely cool technology, and looking forward to see what else Humminbird does with that and with the live, and any kind of updates and new stuff. I'm always looking at what else I can add.
Never stop rigging. That's the hashtag I use.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I've been doing for the past few years, and I mean I like I said before, I just absolutely love it. Just being able to see you know push those limits and really see what you can do, and it helps with these kayaks nowadays with my autopilot. Like it's endless possibilities of how you can rig it, what you can add to it. I mean the thing's a battleship. You can do anything you want with it.
Yeah, heck yeah, man. Yeah, they are pretty slick, and you've got the whole experience going on there. That's for sure. Well, man, I do really want to thank you for coming on the show. I was excited to see you up there hoisting up those trophies early on in the year. So look forward to kind of cheering you on throughout the year, and hopefully you can add some more hardware to the collection back there. And the next one at Chickamauga should be a fun one. Like you say, it's I guess a little bit further north, so you could be in a very similar find yourself on a very similar bite, that you did at this one. So, um, but if not, you've got all the tech there to help you with whatever kind of bite you may be faced with.
Yeah, man. I mean, got everything I need. I just got to go put it together. I mean, um, I'm hoping I'll make something happen.
Heck yeah. Well, is there before we go, Is there anything that maybe we forgot to touch on, or anything you want to mention? Anybody you want to shout out? Anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, just all my sponsors. I mean, I'll try to list them all. But Old Town, obviously, you've talked about a few of them on here, but
Yep.
um, Old Town, Dakota Lithium, Cash and Fishing Rods, Hummingbird, Minn Kota, um, Sniper Marine, um, Carver Covers, Catch USA. Um, I know I'm probably forgetting somebody, but yeah, I mean, it's like all the sponsors. I love having the sponsors that help promote and help give to these tournaments that we're fishing. So it doesn't just benefit me; it benefits everybody else. Like Dakota Lithium, they're giving they're sponsoring this double up. That's a lot of money going, and that's a guaranteed payout. That's not um
Yeah.
it's not just based off entry fees. So like if there's a low tournament numbers, that's a guaranteed payout for that, and that's because of Dakota Lithium. And
Yep.
I mean, obviously Catch with making these awesome freaking trophies. Like
Yeah, those are cool.
a lot of my sponsors are so involved in the tournaments and everything, and like I mean, not only could I not do what I do without them, but like the whole tournament scene would look completely different without a lot of these guys. So I mean, I always
Yeah.
say whether it's my sponsors or the next guy's sponsors, just like help support these companies. Like not everybody's gonna want to get a hummingbird, but like or whatever it is, like
Yeah.
just because it's my sponsor, but like just support the companies that are supporting the guys that are doing this, trying to do this full time, and the companies that are really supporting these tournament trails, because it's going to help everybody in return.
Absolutely. Yeah. I would agree. I think that yeah, I mean, and if you're looking for a product out there, pay attention. Pay attention to those companies that are putting up some money, that are sponsoring, maybe even putting a spotlight on. You know, One cool example of that is like how much you're starting to see kayak anglers show up. I was just getting ready to mention Christine Fisher, but then I realized like I've seen you popping up on like a Dakota Lithium sponsored ad on Facebook quite a bit, and then you see, people like Christine Fisher popping up with, St. Croix rods, or like you see all these big companies that their reach far, it far outreaches the kayak community, but they're putting the spotlight on us. And that's good for everybody, whether you rock a Dakota Lithium or a Cash and Rod or whatever it is. Like, totally agree with you there. I think that's a really good point.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these companies are really seeing what we're doing out here, and I mean, we've kind of been hidden in the shadows for quite a few years now, and I mean, it just keeps growing and growing, and it's because it's so easy to get into, and like we mentioned at the beginning of the show, man, I mean, you can go get a $200 kayak and get a fishing rod and go to Walmart and buy some lures and get out here and fish these tournaments. And I mean, yeah, you may not do good at first, but I mean, if you keep at it, like you're just gonna get better. And I mean, for me, it's like the competition aspect, like just drives me to want to learn more and want to do better. And but anybody can get involved in this, and there's so many people out there that follow the kind of mainstream bass fishing that don't even have a bass boat. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
they may go fish from the bank, but they don't realize, hey, you can go get one of these kayaks, and if you want to fish a tournament, you can. If you just want to get out on the water and fish, you can. So like those companies are really seeing that a lot of their target market is can they may not be in a kayak right now, but like that's their best option. They can't go buy uh even a $10,000 bass boat, but they can go buy a few $100 kayak, and heck, they can go buy a few $100 kayak for the whole family. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just so much opportunity for for those companies, those bigger fishing industry companies to grow as well. And yeah, I mean, like it's been amazing having Humminbird have my back here for the past year or so. And I mean, you know, they've had me in a couple commercials. After this win, I shot a little video for them. They posted up the reel. So I mean, it's awesome to see that. And like you mentioned, Christine, I mean, she's for the past few years, she's just been popping up everywhere in these big commercials and like
Mm-hmm.
friggin'. I mean, it's awesome seeing that stuff, and I think you're just going to continue to see more and more of it. And again, that's where it goes back to just supporting these companies and you know, once they start seeing those returns, their eyes are just going to keep getting bigger and bigger onto the whole kayak fishing thing, and hopefully, you know, they start throwing some of their money towards us.
Yeah. Heck yeah, man. I'm all about it. And as you know, and I'm dubbing you an OG, as an OG, you've seen how much that has grown because, you know, that has not been the case. We used to get a lot of attention from, you know, the small businesses, which is awesome. And I love supporting the small businesses. But, you know, that's kind of where we used to see a lot of those sponsorships coming from. And now it's, you know, the same guys that are sponsoring the Bassmaster Classic, you know, that's title sponsors for, you know, MLF series and stuff like that. Those guys are starting to really turn their attention to what we're doing. And so, yeah, I think that's a really cool take on that. We could probably do a whole podcast about that, but
yeah, for sure.
But all right, man. Well, I want to thank you again. We're definitely going to be watching you out there at Chickamauga, cheering you on, and hopefully we see you walk across the big stage there. And we'll be sure to share some stuff on the Behind the Reel group page as well. I need to start pulling some videos from all of our past guests and stuff. You've got a lot of good ones, so I'll be sure to share some of those on there, especially for the guys that were on here tonight asking about some tips and tricks. So, but yeah, man, appreciate you coming on tonight, and I imagine we'll have you back on here again.
Yeah, man. Hopefully I can take another W here soon. Hold up a big trophy and make you pull me back on pretty soon. But now I appreciate you having me on, man. Like as much as the sponsors help, like you know, you with this and just all the other guys out there doing these podcasts. I mean, you know, giving content for people to watch, you know, it helps me out. It helps everybody out. So like a big shout out to you, man, for taking the time to really do this and, you know, have me on and have everybody else on as well, man. I mean, it's pretty cool. Gives me and everybody else, like when we're on the road, gives me something to listen to, something to watch. And you know, it's pretty cool. So I appreciate you for all this.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you. And you have yourself a good evening, man.
Yeah. Thank you. You too.
All right. We'll see you.
All right. Bye.
All right, guys. There you have it. Casey Reed, second time on the show here. And this was a cool episode for you guys to kind of see what it was like for him out there on the water at Lake Murray for the KBF event. Kind of a cool format. I hadn't really spent a whole lot of time thinking about, you know, how that whole format would play out on the water, you know, would maybe help you decide on like an approach. But it definitely worked out well for Casey, and he had some really good limits both days. And he ended up running away with the overall, what they call the Dakota Lithium double up, with almost 10 inches ahead of second place. So really cool opportunity for you guys to get out there and fish a big tournament, over 100 anglers in that field. So I'll have to pay attention to see if there's any of those KBF events coming around the area here in the Midwest. Again, just want to remind you guys, we do have kind of a sale going on right now. We're doing free shipping on all of our merch. So if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, this is a cool way for us to make a little bit of money. But the thing that I think is really cool about it is just seeing you guys wearing the merch, seeing you guys posting fish catches with the merch. So if you guys are interested in supporting the channel, you guys subscribing and liking and commenting and just engaging in the content is a huge thing for me. And if you're not purchasing the merch, don't worry about it, because that stuff goes a long ways. But if you guys are wanting a new hat, these things are super heavy duty. I really love this hat. It's held up. I've wore it like almost every single day for probably the last 9 months or so. And I might need to give it a good little wash, but it is super heavy duty. The shirts are the same way. Like, I've had a few people buy the shirts. They're just a real heavy duty shirt as well. So if you guys are interested in that, actually what I meant to do was put it up here. For those of you guys that are watching this or listening to this later on, I will have a link up in the description. I'll do that as soon as we get off of the live feed here. But here's kind of what to expect. I've got some shirts for the Wichita guys, iFish ICT. So if you are a Wichita guy, this is a cool shirt. It's got the Wichita flag incorporated into it. The standard behind the reel logo across the chest on the other one. And then we've got these hats in a couple different colors as well. So if you guys are interested, you can go over there to my Shopify page and check that out. It's going to be behindthereelfishing.myshopify.com. If you guys want to check that out, I'll put a link down in the description. Again, I want to thank Casey for coming on the show tonight. Impressive win. And we are going to be cheering you on. And let me know. That was the other thing I had on my mind that I meant to run by you guys one last time. Where are you listening to your podcast? I want to make this available in a more audio version. We've done some stuff over there on Spotify, and we'll probably continue to post over there and kind of get back into doing that, because I haven't posted any episodes on there recently at all. So I'll definitely put those back up on Spotify, but I'm interested to know, where else are you listening to your podcast? Make sure you comment in the comment section, and I will get some stuff going for that. So guys, thanks again for tuning in. Go check out Casey Reed Fishing on YouTube, Facebook, all that stuff. And hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We'll be back next week. We're going to have my buddy Brennan Banks, another second-time guest. And he just won a big old event, Anglers in Action event. And happy to have him back. He is a big swim bait guy, and we're going to have him on the show for the second time. So 2 second-timers in a row. That's probably never happened before, but excited to be able to have some of these guys back. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you on the next one.